Well, hey, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all, admit to y'all, I guess, in a sense. Last night I started a video. I have no idea where the beginning of the video is, but I made what's called hamburger pie. In my family, it is what we would consider comfort food. Kind of like here in the South, we have our fried chicken, we have our collards and cornbread and things like that. In my family, it also includes hamburger pie. And for whatever reason, I cannot find on my phone the beginning of the video. So pretty much to let y'all know what is the beginning of the recipe, it is, for one, I've always said it's shepherd's pie with a twist. And I put a 2-pound package of ground beef into a frying pan and began to fry it up. Also began to cut up some I cut up some yellow potatoes. When I was with the ex, I always used russet potatoes, but whatever that you would use for mashed potatoes, that's exactly what I used. Then, of course, also in my family, I believe it's part of the video as part of what is still somehow on my phone, that is tomato soup. My mom would always use Campbell's tomato soup. I now make my own. But that pretty much, if you could say, that's pretty much the part of the video that I cannot find on my phone. Maybe miraculously, after I record this, then the other part will somehow show up. And I know that I recorded it because I watched it last night and then I recorded other parts of the video. So what happened to it, only God knows, because I have looked everywhere on my phone that I could possibly look and I don't know where to look anymore. Can't find it. So hopefully it will still be easy for you to follow the recipe. If it's not, I can attempt to re-record it at some time. And feel free to leave a comment if need be, and I'll get you going into the recipe soon as it started on my phone. So I hope that the recipe is easy to follow still, and that if you get to make it, that it's still equally delicious. So see you in a couple seconds with the recipe, or the continuation of the recipe. Okay, as you can see, I now have my meat. It has finished frying. It has already been drained and I rinse mine off. It just takes away some of that fat, so it's not as fattening a meal. I'm going to go ahead and turn my oven on to 350 because I'm hoping that these potatoes will be done soon. I'm getting ready to make my own tomato soup. Granted, it's not necessary for you to make your own. While I was growing up, all the time, my mom only ever used Campbell's tomato soup. And I pretty much did up until I realized that Campbell's has got the first ingredient on the label, the last I checked, was high fructose corn syrup. So I said no thank you. And I used to, the potatoes are not done yet. You should be able to stick a fork through quite easily, and that pretty much shows you that the potatoes are done. So they're still going to be cooking for another couple minutes, so I'm going to leave those there, but I did turn the heat down just a little bit, so it's not going to try to boil over. In the meantime, I'm going to make this tomato soup. I did, while I was with the ex, I would get an organic type of tomato soup, because that was the only one that I could find in the grocery store that would have no high fructose corn syrup in it. But now, while I'm trying, even the organic types will have sugar in them. So I want to have a sugar, no sugar added option. So this is what I've got, and I will have that done momentarily. I will show y'all just as soon as the potatoes are done. We'll get those ready to go and into the pot. And this hopefully will be done even before the potatoes are. So we'll see y'all in a minute. Okay. I'm going to check some of these potatoes really quick. I don't know. They're still pretty hard. Okay. They're still going to take another few minutes. I could get my fork through, but it was kind of still really tough. So you want it to be able to go through easily. Okay. In the meantime, I've got my soup going. So, and I've got the oven is warming up. So hopefully this will be done pretty soon. Well, Will and Crick don't rise. I'm ready to go into the oven. Okay, here we go. One more check of these potatoes. Hopefully they will be done very soon. I'm thinking, okay, probably got about 2, maybe 3 minutes, because it went through, but it was still a teeny bit tough. So you're going to want to leave it for just another couple minutes, and then they should be ready to go. And my oven says it's ready too, so whenever I'm done, it'll be ready. So that's a good thing. Okay, I'm thinking that these potatoes very well may be done. As you can see, my tomato soup is now tomato soup. It's not just tomato sauce. Oh yeah, them potatoes are ready to come on out. So I'm gonna go ahead and drain these, and then I will make them into the mashed potatoes. Okay, so here we go for these mashed potatoes. Of course, I already have the butter in there, and I'm gonna put a little good sized drizzle of half and half in there. I used to use milk. You could probably use whipping cream. In fact, I know there are some ladies that, for trying to reduce the carbs because they're trying to do keto or whatever, they will use mashed cauliflower instead. Okay, so pretty much next, I would say salt to taste. These are pretty basic mashed potatoes. I'm not trying to make them be fancy. I have in the past attempted to do like some, like Parmesan with garlic and all that kind of stuff. It's not needed for this dish. You want basic mashed potatoes. I'm gonna just put just teeny little bit of onion powder in there. Just, add a teeny bit of flavor. It can't hurt, right? Just a little bit. So we're going to see how that goes, and we're going to mash it up, and we're going to see how that it looks once it's mashed, because excuse me, you want it to be wet enough without being overly wet. Okay, so we're going to try to start mashing. We want that butter to incorporate as much as is possible in all of it, so you're going to want to just kind of keep going around, mash it with everything. Okay, now as you can see, this is exactly why you want them potatoes to be completely well cooked. One time I was making this dish and I didn't realize that the potatoes were not well boiled, and trying to mash them, I had to put them back into the oven for a good while so that they could attempt to continue to cook, because I already had the butter in it and everything. So definitely make sure that your potatoes are well cooked before you try to mash them. Okay, and I'm noticing that it looks like they're still pretty dry, so I'm going to put another drizzle of that half and half, which I have some more in the refrigerator, so I'm probably going to need to grab that. But I'm going to put a little bit more. You make sure that it doesn't look dry. You want it to be, you'll see, it should look pretty creamy once you're done. Of course, it's going to have chunks. Whenever you have homemade mashed potatoes, unless you put it in the blender, it's going to have chunks. So, and that's the way I absolutely love it. If it doesn't have chunks, I honestly don't even really care for it. In part because when I was growing up, my mom, and I love her, and she did the Idaho Spuds, the boxed mashed potatoes. And my kids have never had any that I know of. Even though we lived with them for 11 and a half months after we moved out from away from their father. So, that I know of, they've never had any kind of boxed mashed potatoes because, yuck, but I see that now, but that's what I grew up with. But, so now I do everything as much as I can homemade. I'm going to go get some more of the half and half because this is still very much so too dry. Okay, now as you can see, it's starting to look pretty creamy, and that's the texture that you're looking for. If you don't have the skins, of course, you're not going to have those kind of lumps or anything like that. But as far as the skin lumps. So in the meantime, really quick, in just a moment, I'm going to taste test. Because in everything pretty much that I cook, I do a taste test before I serve it. Because I want to make sure that it's going to have a good texture, a good flavor even more so than texture, because generally if the flavor is there and I know what it's supposed to be like, then I already know the texture's good. Okay, so the mashed potatoes are good. They taste really good, perfect on the flavorings. So I'm going to get it together and get it into the oven. Okay, so next is getting everything together, obviously, as I just said. So I'm going to get a can of green beans. Like I said, shepherd's pie with a twist. It's a can of green beans. You're going to want a larger can. The one that I have is, let's see, it is about 50 ounces. So obviously, whatever vegetables, when I was with the ex, he said that he didn't like canned green beans. So I would usually do about a half with green beans and then a half with like mixed vegetables or corn or something like that, so as to give him his likes. But this is what goes in my family's recipe. So if you don't like green beans either, substitute the vegetable of your choice. But at the same time, I'm going to I'm going to strain these, and then I'm going to get them into the pot, mix that with the tomato soup. Okay, here we have, there's the green beans in there. Now I'm going to get, my mom, whenever she would do the tomato soup, she would get the Campbell's, and it was always typically about a 20-ounce can. So I'm going to give an approximate, because I'm not going to pretend that I know exactly how much 20 ounces is. When I'm pouring it in, I'm going to just do it about like that. That looks about good. And if it looks like it needs any more, then I'll do some more. So you want it to be in there. You want to have that tomato flavor well, what is the word? Well incorporated, if at all possible. I usually like it a teeny bit thicker. I try to put a teeny little bit more of my thickener. You can use, you know, your cornstarch, your xanthan gum. I use glucomannan, which is something that comes from Trim Healthy Mama, which is generally the type of eating plan that I like to live by. Now, this is now completely, obviously, mixed together, so I'm going to put it into a 9x13 pan. Okay, so here we go. And it probably at some point in time is going to start to ooze out some of that tomato soup, and I really don't care because it should cover the bottom pretty well, because it's already kind of covering up that all throughout the meat and the green beans, so it's just going to add flavor throughout. Oops, I'm making a mess. Okay, so we got that. There you go with that. Okay, then as is one of those kind of obvious points, you're going to kind of make it smoother, a little bit smoother. You want it to be somewhat even. Okay, there we go with that. All right, now I'm going to start taking some of these mashed potatoes and just putting them over the top of the mixture. And eventually, within time, obviously I'm going to need to smooth it out. Sometimes I don't need all of the potatoes. Sometimes I do. And considering that this is likely going to be some of my dinner for quite a bit of this week, I'm probably going to use all of it just to make it go further. You know, hey, it is what it is. And if anyone has any questions as far as the type of potatoes or whatever, I prefer, I guess you can say now, because of my diet. Okay, somehow my video got cut off while I was recording, putting on the mashed potatoes, but at least you can see that the mashed potatoes are now there. So of course the last step, just like the shepherd's pie, is cheese. I believe that's just like shepherd's pie. If not, well, you know, it's still cheese. So that's what's important to me. Okay. And you're just going to cover it with cheese. Okay. And right now I am ready for this to be in the oven. I'm ready for it to be out of the oven because it's already almost 7:30 at night here, and it's going to take a half an hour in the oven. So, oops. Okay. Well, there's that. Okay, it's covered. It's ready to go in the oven. Oh, that's a teeny bit of mashed potatoes that somehow got out on top, but it's getting ready to go in the oven for half an hour, and we'll see you when it gets out. Okay, it has come out the oven. It is ready to serve. I'm going to serve my kids' plates, and then I'll get my own momentarily. Obviously, I'm not going to give them all this, but I'm just kind of cutting it in a way that it'll be easier to serve. So, yep. And then you can see just like this. Let me see if I can't get just a teeny little bit more, and then that'll make it a lot easier to serve, I think. Ha! Alright. Probably may not come out pretty, but you know what? Not every pretty food is delicious, and not every ugly food is nasty. So, you know, hey. There we go. It's ready to serve. It is ready to eat, sorry. Alrighty, that's the end for today, and I hope that if you like this video, if you like this recipe, click the like button, and if you like my videos or my channel, absolutely subscribe. I'm trying to be more active on it. I'm working on it, and I know that I have neglected it in the past, but I'm trying to be more involved with my channel lately. So here's to hoping that we'll have a lot more recipes dropping in the very near future, and hopefully it will be helpful for anybody that needs it. And otherwise, I'm getting ready to eat because I'm hungry, and y'all have a delicious day.